If you are one of the hundreds in the room here in Los Angeles or among the millions listening on your favorite iHeartRadio station or watching the stream on CWTV.com, welcome to a very special edition of iHeartRadio Icons. It's very special because this is the first time that iHeartRadio has celebrated the launch of an artist's memoir. The book is titled Me, and its author is Elton John. Born Reginald Kenneth Dwight in 1947 in suburban London, music was everywhere in his home. A childhood prodigy as a pianist, his true musical journey began the day his mother brought home a recording by a young American artist named Elvis Presley. It was then that he embarked on a trip, sometimes a quite wild trip, that would lead him to become both a musical and a cultural icon. Now, 2019 has been quite a year for Elton. He's on his record-breaking Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour, and this past spring saw the release of Rocket Man, a blockbuster film about his life that you all loved, right? And that segues to yesterday's publication of his autobiography, Me. Will you please welcome Sir Elton John? Sir Elton.
Yes.
I read in your wonderful book that you were announced to Her Majesty as Mr. John Elton at your investiture.
No, Sir John Elton. They got it wrong. It should have been Sir Elton John, and they went Sir John Elton. And I thought it was very funny. And I went, and she knighted me, and then they were so embarrassed that, because it was all on video, so I got a video at home saying Sir John Elton, and then they redid one with Sir Elton John. Yeah.
And you have a friend who's teased you about your name through the years, saying that it's backwards.
Who?
It's in your book.
It's in my book?
It's in your book.
I can't remember.
Well, there's so much that you had to remember to put together an autobiography. Yeah. And by the way, buy this book. I read it. Here it is. Came out yesterday. Me, by Elton John. There were parts of it that brought tears to my eyes. There were parts of it that made me laugh out loud. There were parts of me that created a strong emotional connection between a person who I've known as an artist for decades, but who, after reading this book, I feel I know as a person. You shared so much of yourself, and you told so many stories in this book. And I'm just wondering what the process was like for you, because you have to take an entire life and put it between these covers.
Well, I did it with my friend Alexis Petridis. He taped me. And I did over 65 hours of taping over a couple of years. And it's hard to know where to start. And we started actually 1975 when I played Dodger Stadium, because that was the peak of my career up to then. And 2 days before Dodger Stadium, I took an overdose of tablets and tried to, dramatically kill myself. If you've seen Rocket Man, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then after that, of course, my stomach was pumped, and here I was on Dodger Stadium 2 days later, because, I have a very strong constitution, and the show must go on. But once I started talking about the book, it all began to come out. And I got nudged by a couple of people, and I wrote some journals when I was young, so I remembered things from that. And it's amazing how quickly things come back to you. I've had an amazing life. This covers 72 years of my life practically, and I left so much out. Probably a good thing. But there's so much that happened to me that I wanted it to be funny. I wanted it to be honest. Rocket Man was an honest film, and we didn't. We tried to make it as honest about my life as possible. We didn't sugarcoat anything. And this book is certainly not sugarcoated. But I've had a wonderful life, and There's a lot of wonderful moments in there that made me obviously think how lucky I've been and how grateful I am to still be alive after all that I put my body through, and how wonderful it is to be alive and to look back on this incredible journey.
You share a lot of very personal and very intimate moments in the book. Were you ever hesitant after the process started? Was there ever a moment when you said, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't put that in there?
Not at all. I think you have to be honest. If you're not honest, it's why bother? I mean, that's with the film. It was the honest approach, although it was kind of a fantasy as well. But everything was more or less true. And the book is the real truth. And I wanted to set the record straight on a couple of things. But I didn't want to be nasty about anybody. I just wanted to say, well, I put my, how I spent my life growing up as a very shy child, how I overcame that becoming an entertainer, and then the drawbacks of becoming famous so quickly, and the addiction, getting over the addiction, and the wonderful life I've had since I've been sober. And I've been sober nearly 30 years next year. So...
And you're godfather to your AA sponsor's child.
I am indeed. And I can remember the christening in Chicago. It was so cold. Now he's nearly 30 years of age. So there you go.
Well, when I was reading some of the passages in the book that dealt with the feeling of longing that you seem to have had from childhood, really through most of your life, the longing for love, the longing for stability. Yeah. It seemed like you tried and tried and tried over and over again. And it was just a serendipitous moment that led you on the path to what you'd been searching for all your life. And that was the loss by a football club in a match, a football club that you loved since you were a child, that you later owned and that you now take your own kids to see. But that team lost, and you were feeling lonely that night. You wanted some company. You asked a friend to arrange a little dinner party. And in a serendipitous way, that changed the trajectory of your entire life and led you into the happiness that you'd been searching for since you were a kid.
Yeah, I was rattling around on my own in my house, and I just thought, it's... I wanted to have dinner with someone. I didn't really know anybody anymore. I did lots of people in recovery and AA, and I just thought, I'd like to meet some people tonight. I rang someone at 2 in the afternoon and said, is it possible? Can you get some people down here to dinner tonight? And by luck, David was one of the people that came down and walked through the front door, and we've been together more or less ever since. And so if I hadn't made that phone call, I would not be sitting here being so happy. I wouldn't have my husband. I wouldn't have my children. So, a lot that's happened during my life has been so involved with serendipity, and taking a chance with why did I make that phone call? Why did I go and have a meeting in London, when I met Bernie Taupin through having an envelope put in my hand. It's incredible the things that have happened to me by chance, but you take the risk and you make that decision yourself.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more videos from your favorite artist. While you're here, check out these other videos.